Hey, what have I here? Bring a video on Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle. In this video, I normally don't do these types of tier list videos, but I did open up a Pandora's box where a lot of people were asking me, well, who do you think number one is? Or who do you think the top 10 LRs are, etc., etc. So I said, you know what, I might as well make this video just to answer all those questions at one time. So with that, if you're new to my channel, like, subscribe, comment below, do all that good stuff. Let's go ahead and dive right in. And really the comment that I made was, I didn't think that LR Bulma, Yellow Coin Bulma, was the best LR in the game. And I saw a lot of tier lists, multiple content creators, multiple people, you know, and I just said, hey, simply, I just disagree, right? I understand why she's number one on people's list, but I kind of talked about the reasoning why I feel like it's not number one and what the subjective view on these tier lists are. So I figured, okay, what do I feel is the number one? I got that question. What do you think's number one comparable to Bulma? And here we go. All right, so let's go ahead and dive in. And first, I just want to explain my viewpoint on units. I look at, yes, the passive skill and special skills are like the most important thing, so we want to weigh those heavily comparable to everything else. But I still think the leader skill is super important when you're starting, you know, the game. And when you're looking at it in a different perspective, you know, this is a team building game, right? You build teams and you go fight enemies, right? It's not, I'm going to bring one unit and defeat all enemies, right? And that would be very interesting if you could do that. But you have these Cybermen that are there that you'll get killed if you don't bring enough certain units on the team to survive, right? So on top of that is, with the leader skill comes the categories. We're in a category meta. We have over 80 categories, I think over 90 categories. And if you're not on a lot of categories, that means that you can't impact a lot of the game. That maybe not in game, but maybe like Super Battle Road, Extreme Super Battle Road, you're limited in those scenarios. And then the rest is super attacks, links, and stats round out how I look at particular units. And then another thing I look at that might be different from where I would assume people are thinking this more end game, right? It's like, okay, when you are at the pinnacle of everything, you have all units, they're all rainbowed. What's the end game look like? Well, I have to look at it in different points of view. I have to look at also, you know, when someone starts the game, when someone's kind of in the mid game where they don't have all the units, they're trying to, you know, bring on a team together. Certain value of having a good leader skill and categories is very important there. And then end game, of course, like, okay, how do I no item run this, right? So, you know, you're doing red zones and that's pretty much, you know, your challenge. But I do take a look at, you know, the differences on there. So, you know, when you start the game, what unit do you want comparable to the end game as well, right? So taking a look at that point of view, this is how I'm ranking these units here. So, oh, by the way, when I look at like game mode effectiveness, of course you have the red zones, you have the cell max, stuff like that, but don't forget about Super Battle Roads. That's part of the end game, right? Not as hard as a red zone, but again, you have to have certain categories to complete it. And then also the Fighting Legend events, which they could have done so much better with that. Infinite Dragon Ball history, and then yes, even Battlefield is something that you should consider when you're looking at units. So let's now dive into the top 10, all right? So I'm going to kind of switch from back and forth to the Dokkan Wiki page and this right here. So coming in number 10, I would say is the best EZ8 LR in the game, and that is OG Blue Fusion Vegito Blue. So I think with Vegito Blue, he does have a great leader skill, but it's only at 170%, so you got to take a little bit of points down for that. He has the ability to stack SA multiplier, which is strong there, but only increases defense there. So, you know, nothing's overly special, but that is nice to have. And really the passive skill here, these are when you talk about this unit, a lot of people talk about the counterpart of this in the Blue Gogeta as well. I think the Vegito is just slightly better. Right here, this makes it like one of the best third position units in the game, and you're generally going to be running this in the third position anyway, right? So until you transform, and once you transform, you come infinitely stronger and better, and then you have decent link skills, a good amount of categories here, and pretty decent stats, 24, 22, and 11. Low on the defense, but still, you know, reasonably okay. Once you transform here, boom, you oops, not there. Was I at? Yeah, there we go. Once you transform, boom, look at this. Now you this right here is like the most OP, right? Oh, once you transform, you just evade. Doesn't matter, 100% evasion. But then you get boosted up, everything gets boosted up. So just again, infinitely better. And then you have this active skill can actually do some decent damage, right? So I think overall, a lot of people have this unit on their top 10, and I think they're on the top 10 as well. I wish we would have got a 200% Patara lead somewhere in the celebration, but alas, Patara is still not quite there. You can still build a nice Patara team. But yeah, anyway, coming number 10 is OG Blue Fusion Vegito, not Gogeta. So let's go ahead and move into the number 9 spot. I think number 9 is getting a knock. I was actually placing it at number 7, but I was like, okay, there are definitely some issues we have to deal with here, and that's LRGG. So LRGG to me is still a super top tier unit. And one of the reasons why is the leader skill. We talked about leader skill. If you were to start the game, LRGG would be a great leader skill to have, because bond of parent child seemingly is like everybody. So at least every Goku and Vegeta after when they start having kids. And then Future Saga just got the biggest upgrade right now, because it is only a 1 category 30% boost. You know, it is a little tough, but Battle of Fate, there is quite a bit of units on there. Now, 12 key, not all that special. 18 key, you do raise attack and defense, so you do stack there. That's pretty strong. But we all know this is the reason why LRGG is LRGG. The first attacker benefit of guarding all attacks, and then attack defense 70%. Fantastic. Now, you don't have to worry about this until after the 5th turn, because you do have the guard and 70% defense on there, but you do have additional attack ability if you are running in the first position right away. Now, again, I would say most people would have issues on their damage output. And yeah, it's not overly great comparable to some of these other units. And one of the reasons why it might drop a little bit lower on this end. But a great active skill here. If you're running in first position, you're going to boost up all your allies by 20% on defense, right? So again, very, very beneficial. And then link skills are okay. Categories, this is also an issue with the unit here, is that it's barely at the minimum, right? You have 2, 4, 6, you have 8 categories. You're barely at the minimum. It's a detriment. It's not on enough categories for you to then run on multitude different super battle routes. However, the leader skill is still very strong. Great stats here. So 22, almost 21, and 13. So I think LRGG still is a top 10 LR. So let's go ahead and move on to the number 8 and 7, interchangeable. I think either of these you can say, okay, I'm just going to flip-flop either one. I think for me right now, maybe I have a little bit of a bias here, because I technically didn't pull them on my main account. I did test them out on the private stuff and the private server and things of that nature, and that's LR Trunks and then Spirit Bomb Z. So they're both very similar in the kits and how they operate, right? They're stacking, they're boosting up. So I think the biggest difference is, okay, do you like the active skill? Do you like the transformation or standby on either one of these, right? Not transformation, but standby. So here, the leader skill for the Trunks, Time Travelers, I don't think Time Traveler is that great. Future Saga, I think, is much better because it adds Future Gohan on the team. Time Travelers, it feels like it's missing some units. You can run a lot more extreme class units on the team here, but again, I think it's interesting. It's fine, but I don't think it's that great comparable to what other things we're looking at. 12 key, I wish this stacked. If this stacked, boy, this unit would be, absolutely better. But it does stack on defense. And then we kind of know the issues with this unit here, right? So you do have the ability to reduce damage up to 30%. I think if it increased to 50%, people would actually move this unit like top 3 if they had that ability, right? But no, you still just have to build up. You only get 30% on there, which was just a little bit more. And then when you go standby, a very unusual thing that they do, right? Because they gave you, say, hey, you know what? Here's your ability at 2nd or 3rd position. But then once you go to standby, you should move to first position, because first position, hey, now you get to guard all attacks, but you have to move into the first. Now, if you're running this with LRGG, that's problematic because LRGG needs to be in the first position. So that's kind of odd and weird. Now, you do have a little reprieve for 1 turn, right? A little reprieve for 1 turn because you do have damage reduction for 50%. So hopefully you kill the unit or you kill the enemy by that time, because Trunks does do a lot of damage. Now, Link skills are pretty solid. A lot of categories, a good amount of categories, relevant categories as well. And then the attack is very low, but crazy amount of HP, and then really, really high defense as well. So, but it can still do a lot of damage. The reason why probably it's this low is because how the kit's operating. It would do even way more damage than it should if the stat was like 18 to 20,000, right? So, then you have LR Spirit Bomb Z, right? Again, very similar. The difference to me is that the leader skill, I think, is way better. I think it is a very, very robust, because Power Wishes, you can run so many great units on Power Wishes, and then Final Trump card as well. Now, you do have Connected Hope and Majin Buu Saga, which makes up your 200%, which is maybe a little bit more limited than your Time Travelers at 200%, but I still think this is a better leader skill overall than the Time Travelers as a single category, so you can run more units. Super Attack, very similar to your Trunks. The difference here is you do stack defense on your 12 key versus you don't stack defense on your 12 key when it comes to the Trunks. You do have a little bit of damage mitigation, but when you start building up this defense, it does help out. Now, the 18 key, you greatly raises defense, 50% increase on there, so that's hugely beneficial. Now, you do start off with more stats, and I think overall, again, it's just hand in hand. There's benefits for both. I just think this slightly is just a little bit better. You do have this interesting standby skill. The counterpart, the GT unit, is way better standby skill, but you're not going to take any damage here, but you also can't attack either. So you're just kind of hanging out until you do this final little Spirit Bomb here. Link skills are fine. A decent amount of categories. It's a little bit on the lower end. And then the stats are pretty good as well. So that is the number 7 spot. So again, 5 and 6, much like 7 and 8, for me, it was like, oh, how do I do this? How do I consider one versus the other? So 1 has in my opinion, the best leader skill in the game. However, the kit and the remaining portion of the unit has its flaws and issues, but once you transform, it's fantastic. And then the other one has a little bit more impressive leader skill, but still very good leader skill, but has way better advantage and usefulness, especially earlier in the game. So if you don't know what these are, it should be easy for you guys to think about these next 2 units here. And that is LR, the new Vegeta Blue, and then Infinite Zamasu, right? So again, like I mentioned, this right here, oh, I gotta switch on over. This right here is the best leader skill in the game, right? You have Battle of Fate, you have Future Saga, you have Power Beyond Super Saiyan. 3 amazing units on all those categories at 170%. Then you have Realm of Gods and Time Travelers, which again limits it there. But here's what makes it the best in the game is right here. Superclass. All the superclass. You can run any superclass unit and you still get 150. Now, albeit that's far away from the benefit of having a 200% boost, but the flexibility that you get, again, you start thinking about early in the game, right? Starting the game. You were to say, I'm just going to start playing Dokkan. Would you rather have this unit to start the game off or Bulma? Right, where Bulma, we'll talk about her in a minute. I think she still ranks above because of her passive skill, but this leader skill is very, very important, right? So, but again, the remaining portion of the passive skill and then also the super attacks, you do stack, which is great. So it takes a while for this unit to build up. Now, you want to run this unit in the first positions. That's again problematic on like a LRGG team. But still not too bad as you continue to build. And if you're fighting against a Realm of Gods enemy, then this unit is actually very, very viable. But that is such a bad restriction. I wish they just got rid of that. So, and then of course, everyone complains about this portion of the active skill here. They would have removed a couple of different things or changed a couple of different things. Once you transform here, you're rocking and rolling, right? Huge boost and great active skill here as well. Do some damage. And I also don't like that the links change dramatically. So I'm not a big fan of that, but it's on a ton of different categories, right? Best leader skill in the game, ton of categories, you know, decent, actually very good stats here. But I guess the issue really is the transformation into Vegeta Blue. Now, different is when it comes to Infinite Zamasu. So Infinite Zamasu has still a great leader skill, but Extreme Class 150% isn't as impressive as Super Class 150%. Because Extreme Class, they just don't give us enough Extreme Class OP units to really even care about, right? You can run some support units, which is good, things of that nature, but Realm of Gods, Worldwide Chaos, Street Fighters isn't also as good as Vegeta Blue's categories. And then you have Time Traveler's Final Trump card. The Super Attack and 18 key here isn't hugely beneficial because it doesn't stack, but you do have this greatly lowers attack, which can be beneficial in certain stages. But really what this unit's all about is its 80% ability for damage reduction right off the bat, right? You do, in a sense, lose this a little bit later, so you're strong in the beginning and weaker later on, versus Vegeta Blue is you're kind of weaker in the beginning and stronger later on, right? Kind of vice versa here. But I really do love this domain active skill. So if you're running a team, but generally you're not fighting a superclass enemy, but all in all, I still really like this active skill in this domain here, because once you transform, you don't take any damage. You can still do quite a bit of damage, and then you buff up all Worldwide Chaos units by 60% defense on the team, which is really, really, really powerful. Link skills are great. Of course, Big Bad Bosses helps out a lot. This is easily the best extreme LR in the game. There's no doubt about it, right? The next one that's closest is what? Cooler, which is off of the list here. And then categories is a little bit limited, right? Not as many, right? We have 2, 4, 6, 8, you have 10, right? So, and then stats are, you know, fairly good as well. So again, you can kind of switch and say, okay, I prefer Infinite Zamasu, I prefer Vegeta Blue based off the leader skill. You can kind of go back and forth into that. I just went with Infinite Zamasu slightly above Vegeta Blue. Now, here's where the controversy started, and you're like, well, what do you think? Where do you think Bulma is? Okay, well, here's where Bulma is, right here. So Bulma is in the number 4 spot for me. Now you might go, oh, well, you know, you made the point of leader skills bad. And yes, correct. The reason why she's in number 4 is because she has a bad leader skill and she has like no categories. But this is very strong. So one of the reasons why I understand that some of you guys put Bulma as the number 1 spot is because the passive and active skill is outrageous, right? It's so good. This right here, 2-turn buff. I'm like, whoa, if they can start doing that, come on, let's do that. Then you buff again, right? So again, easily the best support unit in the game, easily the best yellow coin LR, right? But overall, no, because you have issues. You have this Dragon Ball Seekers DB Saga. No, thank you, right? 150%. No, thank you. 2 category 150% is just not going to cut it. Especially if, like, again, let's talk about this in the start of the game, right? In the start of the game is just, you don't have a strong leader to build even a team. How many Super Battle Roads can you do? 7. That's it. That's all you're limited to. Maybe some of you guys don't care about that. Like, oh, all I care about is Red Zone, how this operates in Red Zone. Hey, I understand why you put this unit so high if that's how you look at things. But I have to look at it and it gets mid-tier and starting the game and even end game with Super Battle Roads. So there are issues when it comes to Bulma. Link's skills aren't very good, but of course you're already skin supported. And then the stats, the nice thing is you do get a lot of HP, which that's all that matters. So again, all in all, if not the best passive skill in the game, right? One of the best passive skills in the game, just completely broken. However, passive skill is not everything, but it is very strong. That's why it's in the number 4 spot, even though it has the weakest leader skill. So anyway, so that's number 4. So let's go ahead and just finish out the top 3. And I think the top 3 interchangeable. You can pick and choose which one depending on your mood. Really, it's like, okay, I like this one because of this or because of that. I was going back and forth as well, but I'm going to stick to it because I think these three just make sense to be in those positions here, and that is LROP, the new Future Gohan, and then the Spirit Bomb GT unit. So let's go ahead and talk about all three. LR Piccolo, right? LR Piccolo, LROP is what I call him. Overpowered, yes. I think when it first came out, we had no idea. We're like, this is just a ridiculous unit. Amazing leader skill, right? You have Battle of Wits, you have superheroes. There's a lot of good units on Battle of Wits. And then Master Bond the Disciple, that's another great category. And then, of course, Movie Heroes, which is dominated 2022. Super Attack and Ultra Super Attack, not really that much beneficial. You do have an ability to stun and then lower attack and defense, fine. But really here is the passive skill that really makes this unit incredible. But then on top of that is the active skill. The active skill, once you're like, okay, you know what, I'm in trouble here. I got to transform and do some damage and maybe go through a couple rounds here. And that, again, that provides a lot of benefit, especially if you can activate it earlier and just have it on standby just in case, right? So of course this, a benefit has ability to guard for 3 turns from the start of turn if you have Bottom Master's Disciple. You have all these additional buffs here. You have flat out reduce damage to 20%, which isn't that great, but it's okay. And then you have ability to buff key for other units as well. So again, overall really nice. But once you go to Orange Piccolo, boom, here is the king here. You're like, okay, I don't take any damage and I can still clear out a stage. So very strong. Link skills, probably the weakest point of LR Piccolo, right? That's probably why you even have this additional key +2 here. Very weak links, and then but ton of categories. Look at all the categories it's on. And then the stats are amazing, right? 21, 18, and 17. Really strong there. Wish this was a little bit higher, but hey, you know what? Yeah, fantastic unit. So I had him at number 2 for the longest, or really number 1 for the longest, and then of course the GT unit taking over. But this unit here, again, for me, maybe the ranking is still out here. I put him in 2 just because, guys, he does everything that you want, right? So right here, Future Saga, a much better, in my opinion, even though it's a little bit more limited than Time Travelers. The unit that you're running on this team is so good that the leader skill is top notch. You do have, not so great, massively raises attack and stuff, but no stacking ability when it comes to the 12 key or 18 key. But the kit is super strong. Reduce damage by 40% for 5 turns, unconditional. You just do it, right? Doesn't have to have a certain, category on the team. Doesn't have this. Unconditional. That's fantastic, right? And then you start boosting up. Then you have additional damage reduction reduced, right? And then you also have at 18 key, so you got to make sure you're 18 key. And then you have the additional opportunity to, again, have a domain. So this is the counterpart to the Infinite Zamasu, but in this case, much more beneficial. Now, if you're talking about endgame, right, this is a high-end endgame unit, like for sure, because this domain city here, right, well, this doesn't show right here. Okay, there we go. It increases damage received by extreme class enemies, which is mostly, not all, right, all of Red Zone. So you're like, oh, boom, we'll go ahead and do this and just destroy the remaining enemy because it's all extreme class, right? So huge benefit there. And then this active skill here is really beneficial as well for the unit. Once you're able to do this active skill here, you get a 20% boost unconditionally. So again, overall, this is just a great unit. Great leader skill here. Link skills are pretty decent, and then category is a little bit light. Have a little bit more there. And then the stats are really good. 29,000 defense or HP. That's pretty wild, right? I can see why a lot of people put this as number 1. I could easily put this at number 1 as well. But again, I still think the GT unit is the number 1 unit in the game again, as an overall, I think the leader skill is amazing, fantastic. Power of Wishes, Battle of Fate, those are two amazing categories. And then Final Trump card and Shadow Dragon Saga. I wish they would have taken that out and put something else in there. But you get a lot of 200% boost from Final Trump card and Battle of Fate and Power of Wishes. So a lot of great units that you can run. Now, here's the reason why I think this unit is the #1 unit in the game, because it does everything, and it has the, still, in my opinion, the most broken thing that you have in Dokkan, right? And that's revival, right? We'll talk about that in a second. But 12 key, 12 key, and 18 key, you're stacking super attack versus defense, like its counterpart in the Spirit Bomb Z. But then here's where it's beneficial right here, right? You have this right here. Launches additional super attack when HP is 20. No, right here. So key +1 reduces damage by 10% up to 50%, which each super attack perform. So this is the Trunks, but up to 50%. And once you're at 50% and you have all this going for you, right? You have all this going for you. You are, you know, you're tanking. You're rocking it. And let's say you aren't tanking. Let's say you just come into a certain scenario and something happens. You're like, oh boy, I'm in trouble, right? I'm in trouble, and I have HP 50% or less, right? I have an issue. Well, guess what? You go on standby and you heal 100%, right? And on top of that, as you know, even if you don't die, you're gonna still do some damage because you can still attack. So that's still the most broken thing in the game, is revival, because basically you're dead, you got killed, but you come back, and you come back with 100% HP recovered. No other unit right now on the top 10 list can do that. And I think that is really what makes this unit so special, is this additional benefit to go into the standby here. This is so much more well built than the Spirit Bomb Z unit, right? So, and then you have this additional attack on there. The minuses, link skills aren't that great. If you're running GT, it's fine. And then you're not on that many categories, right? 2, 4, 6, 8. Oh, like 11. 11's not bad, right? Actually, 11's pretty good. Wish would have been like 14 or 15, but hey, you can't have everything here. This is already the best unit in the game based off of all these different benefits, right? You got the standby skill, you got a good passive, great leader skill, one of the better ones out there. And the stats, look at the stats, so good on there. So I think overall, this is the most well-balanced unit in the game in terms of leader skill, in terms of the passive. You got the standby, you got the revival mechanic at 100% healing, still able to attack and do some damage there. They still want really the Vegeta to die so you can actually heal up and come back again, but it's, hey, still fine. It gives you this extra turn possibly, and anyway, that's the reason why I have this at #1. So that is the list here, boys and girls. So that is the list right here. My top 10 LR list, the global edition, right? That's why we don't have full power Super Saiyan 4 Goku on this. We'll see where he falls afterwards, but let me know what you guys think. Again, you guys had a lot of questions. This is a long video, like a half-an-hour video here, but it does answer those questions I've been getting asked all day, and I'm like, might as well answer it in a video. So with that, hopefully you guys enjoy this video here. If you're new to my channel, like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Thank you all for watching. Keep on Dokkaning. We'll catch you next time. Later.